Bucket brigade. I might have enough poles to do one wall. I gotta go collect some more. I'm pretty pleased with that. That's next level. Fry it in the pan. Dig a hole in your yard. Jump in. Well, she's getting pretty dark out, so I figure I'd hunker down.
In a previous video on my channel, we built a Japanese spider hole, which I would encourage everyone to take the time to watch. In that video, we dug a hole with a tiny entrance and then expanded it into a full room that would house a person in time of crisis. While I've built these wartime structures, I would not like anyone to misunderstand my motivation for doing so. I am not a warmonger. In fact, I do not support physical aggression, except for very specific circumstances. Physical force should only be applied in extreme circumstances, such as for self-defense or for defending against physical force against the innocent and weak. I believe peace should come first through diplomacy, through active negotiation and compromise, through dialogue, even if it means speaking with very bad people. My stance on war is that all war is bad, and war is designed only to benefit those calling for it, never for those who are enlisted to fight in them. Those are always the victims. My fascination with structures like the Japanese spider hole and Ukrainian trenches like this one, which I am building now, is not motivated by destruction and death, but by the desire to survive, create, and solve nearly impossible problems under crisis. The Ukrainian trench isn't unique to Ukraine. Trenches like what I'm building today are found throughout war situations. Trenches conceal humans from danger. They permit people the dignity to rest and to sleep, eat, and to feel secure when threatened. I can't help but wonder if people, a mammal, have this urge to dig, to get below the surface, stemming from a history that was much, much closer to what kept us alive when humans were far less dominant on planet Earth. Small mammals hide underground to escape predators because it works. In this video, I plan to explore the idea of creating a simple, secure structure using basic hand tools that can easily house people in time of crisis, to hide their silhouettes and to keep them protected from being made victims of invasion. I support survival. I do not support encroaching on people's sovereignty of any kind by any nation, and certainly do not support the obsession of masters of countries with meddling in people's personal affairs. I support self-reliance.
All right, we've got the general size of our Ukrainian trench pretty much sorted out. The idea is to be able to lay down in it. We just need it much, much deeper. It's like a grave for a really, really tall guy. The only problem is now is we're into kind of the hard dirt beyond the topsoil. It's got a little clay-like, and that's gonna be beneficial to us because A, it doesn't like to cave in very easily. It kind of holds its position once you dig it out. So more digging. All right, now that I've got my general footprint lined up of the actual hole, I'm going to take a little bit of a break from digging and decide to chop instead. So I'm going to try to find some dead standing pine, and the primary reason for using that sort of stuff is because it's nice and light, and it's not, I guess green trees are easier to chop, but the dead standing ones are much lighter to carry. So 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I don't know if I'm going to clean up the ends a little bit just to make it a little bit more pretty. I'm going to chop a couple of these down, then chop them up to generally the size, and then probably end up cutting them a little bit exact size, because I want to make this hole as clandestine as possible once everything's said and done. That's why I'm taking my time with the dirt removal, not get any dirt or the spoils on the outside, but slowly but surely. So yeah, just break it up, just change activities from time to time in order to keep yourself sort of motivated, keep the progress flowing.
The size of your trench is only limited by your imagination and possibly your soil's condition. You basically want to dig yourself a test hole to determine what kind of sand you're dealing with. You also want to dig a hole to determine whether or not you have groundwater infiltration, because if you dig a foot below the ground and you got water coming in, maybe a trench isn't the right solution for your problem.
All right, now here comes the fun part, is the clay part. This, you can tell how your shovel doesn't want to go into it. You can also tell by the color, it's kind of like it's lighter than the topsoil. And this is the clay. That's where the tough digging comes. It's getting increasingly difficult to get in and out of the hole, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and build the ladder. I've got some cedar poles that I'm gonna use, and the reason being is because it's nice and light, it's nice and dry. So just gotta put this thing together. That's kind of what I envision, is right there. Notch it out a little bit and then secure my rungs on that way.
In order to make my ladder, I took some cedar poles and I cut them to the length that I think my final trench depth is going to be. And then I took what was left of my cedar poles and I cut them for rungs. And then I kind of loosely laid them out to equal spacing throughout the height of the ladder. And then I used my buck saw and kind of notched a little chunk out in order for the tread to sit flat. And then once that was done, I took my axe and I took a little bit off each rung in order to have both surfaces marry it up. And then I used a couple of nails in each post in order to secure them to the ladder.
Digging a hole, it's something else. It's a lot of work digging a hole. You kind of want to periodically take a break just to catch your breath, relax. Gives you a lot of time to think digging a hole. Actually, I don't mind digging holes. We're making some good progress. I'm like about waist deep right now. Although I've got into the gravel layer, which is a lot of rock, so it's kind of like they ain't potatoes. Yeah, once you hit these, it's kind of jarring when you hit these. But, you know, it's going to give us a nice stable drainage at the bottom. Because last thing we want is a watery hole to sit in. Having a gravel bed at the base actually is one of the bonuses of actually digging right here. You can sort of see where I'm at. I'm about... Alright, well, kind of resorting to bucket brigade. Chipping out the wall. Getting some more dirt. Got a mix between clay and rock. Mostly rock. I'd say chest high, but its reality is about belly button high. Still got quite a bit of ways to go. Gotta take more material out of the hole. Digging's fun. It's gotten colder. It's starting to snow a little bit. You kind of want to do this before the terrible weather strikes, because it's no fun digging. Well, it's no fun digging ever, but it's even less fun digging when it's snowing. Alright, so as you guys can see, we're working on these rocks in the corner. We can't get them out. Well, in an ideal situation, I would have had this done well before the snow arrived. But here we are. I looked at the weather forecast and I kind of saw it was going to snow, so I covered it with some old pallets and some old plywood because I don't want a bunch of snow in the hole. We got about 4 inches of snow the other day, so ideally it would have been all covered and then the snow would have concealed it almost so you couldn't even see it. So we've got pretty much the hole dug. Worked on that late last night in order to get everything kind of shored up before the big storm. So it's all dug out and it's ready for its cribbing. And anytime you're dealing with a hole that deep, you kind of want to have some sort of shoring for the walls in order to not have, you know, an untimely collapse. I guess any kind of collapse is untimely. As you guys can see, it's about 7 feet deep-ish, roughly. Yeah, so I want to put some cribbing. I've got some poles, some pine poles that I've got cut up. So I just got to fit them in place. I'm gonna make the walls pretty much solid. Ideally, you're in the hole today. Like it's crazy cold today. So yeah, I wanna get that thing buttoned up. Once I get moving, it'll start to warm up. I hope, anyways. Oh, this old skid will be probably useful for building all sorts of stuff inside. But anyways, I'm gonna get started, get moving because it's cold. And yeah, I'll probably give you a tour. I'll give you a tour of the hole first. I'm working on these rocks in the corner. I can't seem to get them out. They, I don't know, they're locked in place. But as you can see, I've got a relatively dry base. It's not terrible. It's got some rocks. And you can see the top. I got topsoil and then clay layer and then gravel base, which is ideal because yeah, nice dry footing. So what I want to do is secure the walls in order to prevent it. It'll also allow me to kind of make it more trench-like, less pit-like. There's my ladder. It's worked out really well. Change my angle on that thing. A little less steep, but there we go. So I think it'll be pretty homey down here once we're all set. I want to pull right here. That one ended up breaking. Came out easy, the other one not so easy. But that gives me a nice solid place to put my pole. So what I want to do is get it inside and then brace it from the top and the bottom in order to prevent my walls caving in. Although they seem pretty stable now, you could never be too safe. Alright, update time. I've got my cross pieces in here. I've got these slightly in the ground, so they're going to prevent it from pushing this way. And then I've got the stabilizer piece that'll help prevent it from pushing in this way. Same with that one there. And then what I've done is I've actually locked these in place. There's about 2-inch piece of wood at the top. It allows it to prevent it from kicking over this way. And then what I'm going to do is fill in this little gap here from post to post with solid timbers, and that'll allow me to secure these walls. As you guys can see, there's stuff on them. It is kind of, you know, you don't want that crumbling on you. I've got a lot of the posts cut topside. My face is frozen. It's hard to talk. It is a lot warmer when you're working. You take your gloves off and they freeze like solid. They're like just, yeah, because of the moisture in them.
But I toss them down, and that's the hard part. And I get to place them in the walls. Progress, making progress. It's just like a massive game of pickup sticks. So the idea is to alternate the fat side of the log and the skinny side of the log, so when you go up the wall, you don't end up being kind of off-centered. So that's my plan, is to grab this guy. Just level it out. Perfect. In order to put the final wall up, what I did was I cut the poles to length in order to fit them in. Now I carefully took each pole and slid it behind the support that was keeping it upright, and then started from the bottom and carried my way all the way up to the top where it met the roof. Just getting a little tight down here. But tight, I think, means cozy. These are actually stacking up really nice. I like the way they're going. What I'm doing is I'm actually adding some rock because I want to keep it away from the actual wall to stabilize it that way. I also kind of want an airspace. I don't want the clay touching my wood. It'll last a whole lot longer. And you kind of don't want the clay to get a running head start. So that's why you kind of brace it every once in a while. I just tuck a rock behind the wood. Away she goes. I might have enough poles to do one wall. I gotta go collect some more. Let's see how far this goes. I got 10 more. Like I'm up 9 high or something like that. So let's see how far we get. Once I was done securing my walls inside the trench, I used a lot of the offcuts that I had left over from the walls, and I cut them to about 4 feet in length, and I laid them from one end to the other, making sure I could make them as tight as possible. Once I got to the door opening, I ended up using a little bit skinnier logs because I knew I had to open it and close it, and I didn't want it to be too heavy. Once everything was in place, I took an old tarp I had laying around and I placed it on top of the logs, and then took some topsoil and some pine needles and further camouflaged my opening. The roof on a trench is a little bit different than the Japanese spider hole, and the reason behind that is because it's not fully dirt. In my opinion, it's a little bit safer to build a trench with a wooden roof than it is to be submerged under tons of earth. Well, it snowed overnight, and I kind of need to put my door in for my trench. So I think it's right over here. You can kind of see the edges of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my plastic, and then I'm going to actually install my, I got some pieces of wood. This is pallet wood. On top of the thing to hold my logs in place. So I can flip it up like a hatch. Okay, so I've got my opening to my trench. I'm gonna put my boards like this. Can you guys hear that? Those are like, there's like a pack of coyotes. Close. It's odd for them to be roaming around during the day. Wouldn't that be kind of neat? You'd sneak up on the coyote, pop out of your trench and grab the coyote. Now that I got my door done, I want to make a strap hinge. And what I've got is a piece of rubber, and I'm going to attach it to the top side of this thing so my hatch doesn't just kind of go away. I imagine that's how they got the word strap hinge. They used a old strap. The reason why I use a tarp on top of this shelter is in order to create a waterproof space. Now, if I can put waterproof material on top of my wood, I'm going to deflect a lot of the rainwater and snow melt away from my trench, ultimately keeping the floor of my trench and myself dry. I'm pretty pleased with that. It works actually really well. I'm gonna further camouflage the front side, so when it's up, it actually hides. Tack some logs on there. It's more spacious than you think down here. As it turns out, it's really hard to take pallets apart when they're really old, so I just kind of, I just measured the opening, and as it turns out, I don't even have to take it apart, which is good, because it probably would have broken anyway, so I've kind of cut it to size. It happens to fit. So I'm going to mount it to the wall at somehow, and that's gonna be my bed. Place to lay my head at night. So my plan is to make a strap hinge, which is going to attach on the wall, and it's allow me to fold it up. Because yeah, I kind of like the way this is actually panning out, because you don't really want to be standing or sitting all the time. This is what I'm going to use for my straps. This little piece of rubber. I'm going to attach it to all 4 points of contact, and then attach it to the wall, and that'll allow the bed to kind of fold down and fold up. And I got some brackets on this side that allow it to kind of be secure once it's sitting in place. In times of crisis, you can pretty much use any kind of material you can imagine to make your structure, whether it be old pallets, whether it be tarps, whether it be, you know, bombed out buildings with 2x4s strewn about. You could use those for your shelter. You could also use car hoods or bonnets from cars. That would make an excellent roof, even waterproofing it that way. You could use old beddings or even box springs or mattresses. There's a lot of things that you can actually use or reuse in order to make your shelter, your trench, a little bit more comfortable. All right, this bad boy should be ready to install. Just gotta pivot. The idea behind a spider hole is it's tiny. It's designed to be really, really small, and that's why it supports itself, is because it's not a very big open space. The larger you make a cavern in the ground, the more likelihood it is to collapse. The idea with a trench is that you can make it as big as you want. You're only limited by the size of your timbers that support the structure itself. Ideally, if you're building a trench for survival, you want to have a couple of things. Primarily, you want to have oxygen, and you can do that by creating ventilation holes, even ventilation shafts, if you don't have anything laying around like a pipe. Once you've got the oxygen all sorted out and all your air and proper ventilation, you want to think of things that kind of like creature comfort, so your amenities. You want to have a place to lay your head down. You want a place to sit. You also want a place to go to the washroom. That usually involves making a sump pit, which would involve digging down below where you can kind of, you know, do your business and bury it in the ground, kind of like an outhouse in the trench. But ultimately, you want to add things that will make you the most comfortable in a terrible situation. Got those little blocks set up to hold the bed. I got a number of different chunks that are gonna hold the bed up when it flips down. I've got a strap that holds it up. All right, the inaugural test. We're gonna give it a whirl. Like I said, the strap is right here, and then you just kind of undo it and you get out of the road and you flop your bed down and it holds on the brackets. Then you can scoot yourself into bed. Oh, that's awesome. That's perfect. It's full size. Once the snow melts off of it, it'll be even better. All right, I gotta get some ventilation holes cut in. I'll put some more nails in there because I've only got one nail holding the straps in place. But otherwise, I'm pretty pleased with that bed. I
figured because I have this laying around, I'm going to use it. It is it's a stainless steel pipe of some kind with a, I don't know, hole in the end of it. I think it's the perfect little cooking area. So that's my plan, is to kind of secure it there. As long as it's touching dirt all the way around, I'm probably going to stack some stones up there, recess it back, and that'll sit there and give me a nice cooking spot. Maybe if I get some rocks. I cut that pipe off too long, it's kind of wiggling at the top, but otherwise I think I can get that position stabilized at the top so it doesn't move. Well, she's getting pretty dark out, so I figured I'd hunker down. I've got my ventilation installed. I should be okay to start my dinner. Gotta find a place to hang this. I don't know how long it's gonna last. That's my backup lantern, so that'll give me some ambient glow. But I've got some other lighting. It's not bad actually. I don't know. It's kind of a little bit choky in here, but not terrible. There's enough ventilation out the cracks at the top, and then I've got fresh air. I've got a fresh air intake. You guys can't actually see it. It's right behind the ladder. Oh yeah, she's coming in. I can feel the air coming in, so that's good. So that'll allow me to have kind of an exhaust and then a fresh air intake, which is ideal. So this is where I'm staying for the night. Might be darker sooner than later. Old technology. Oh well. Get the flashlights out. All right, my plan is to actually make this a little cook area. My idea is to take this little cast iron frying pan and have it like a spot right down there, so I can just kind of slide it in and I have a cook surface. It doesn't quite fit. I just got to slot the side a little bit, and then it should slide in. That's my plan. I'm really excited for my chair to work actually. What I did is I actually took a plank and I just jammed it in between the walls, so it sits there nice. All right, we got it sorted. We got the pan. It can sit right in there, perfect. So the idea now is to light a fire and see how she draws. You can already feel a little bit of a draft going up there, which is kind of cool. Going. She's drafting perfect. It's going up there. Wow. All right, finally got the stove working the way I want to. I had to poke a little bit of a hole in the base of it. I used my knife and I twisted it in, and I got a little air hole down below where the fire is, and I've got the thing really cooking. I checked outside and there was like no smoke coming out, which is pretty exciting. This is the dinner of champions. I've got the old what does that say? Here for corned beef hash. That is my meal of the evening.
Imagine this is kind of what you'd be eating if you were in the trenches. Oh yeah. Can you guys smell that? Smells a little bit like dog food, but I hear it's good. It's my knife. The idea is it's a fried corned beef hash sandwich. Be nice if it came out of the can. Idea is to fry it. I'm gonna put an egg in there. Come on, came out of the can. There should be. Look, one of those push pops you just don't want to eat. Oh, it's actually, it smells delicious. All right, I'll let that fry up a little bit. They went from chunks of hash, corned beef hash, to scrambled corned beef hash now. We're just scrambling it up so it cooks a little bit more even. That looked good. And then we're going to put a piece of cheese on top. Let her melt in there. Anything warm really, I think, is the key to kind of keep morale up. I couldn't imagine, like, staying in a trench during, you know, either World War I or World War II. I don't know if they, something. It's one thing, you know, staying in a trench and being uncomfortable. It's another thing is staying in a trench and, like, being hunted. I think my food's ready. Let's go. I can see why trenches, every picture I've ever seen of a trench is completely littered and cluttered with garbage and stuff, because there's really only so much you can do with a trench. Like this thing's about 3.5 feet wide, but there's like no place to put anything. Oh, I almost dropped my tea. Oh, that's good. All right, let's try this, the inaugural corned beef hash sandwich. That's good. Here, have a look at that. Let me see that. I don't know. After digging a trench all day, doing all that work, you pretty much eat the stick you built the cabin out of. That's pretty tasty. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you guys think you could live in a trench during the war? Like, it's just, this is crazy. It is really quiet and very homey-like, but I don't know. This is something else. This is gonna be. It's not as confined or even protected as like it feels like a spider hole is, but you still feel like you're enclosed. If you ever get a chance to make yourself one of these, try corned beef hash. I don't know why I keep saying corned beef hash. It's just corned beef. Try corned beef on a sandwich with an egg and cheese. It's that. That's next level. Fry it in the pan. Dig a hole in your yard. Jump in. Well, that might be my cue to go to bed. My chair decided to snap. Don't pick a board with a giant knot in it. It's snapped in half. Guess if that's the worst thing that happens, it's not bad. I also spilled my tea on my leg. It's nice and warm now. All right, this is where it's at. I got the bed set up. Got my 2 sleeping bags all set up. I'm off the ground. I'm out of the trench, like the water that's down there. There's a little bit of water, but I got my feet off the ground. My feet are warm now. It's nice and it's softer. Yeah, I think This is better. Relaxing, the actual having a bed set up for the thing. And I've got my little creature comforts. I tried to get as close to trench rations as I could, hence the corned beef and the bun. And now I've got one of the little pleasures in trench warfare, which I guess would be the chocolate. It's cold. I'm frozen. It is a pretty comfy hole. Well, might be time to call it a night. Gonna take a couple layers off, get inside. You ever forget your pillow? Your jacket doubles as a pillow. Anytime I sleep outdoors, I always sleep with my hood on because it keeps my head warm. But I'm probably gonna let that fire die down. I don't want to have a lit fire going while I'm sleeping. And then I'll pretty much call it a night. We'll see you in the morning. You know what's interesting is I can actually hear little chunks of clay and stuff falling behind the behind the wood, which is kind of concerning, but also kind of like that's where it's supposed to go. It's not supposed to come out, but I wonder if that's going to keep me up all night. My toes are finally kind of warming up a little bit. I couldn't imagine like what real soldiers go through just kind of dealing with this sort of thing, camping out night after night, you know, with the thing in the back of your mind of like getting killed by hostile people. Yeah. Although there's some solace in having a safe place to lay your head down, and I think like a trench definitely is something that you can kind of hide in and take refuge just to get a little bit of sleep. Even during the daytime, if you had to, you could crawl into a hole in the ground and just kind of go to sleep, and chances are nobody's going to find you. Anyways, I'm gonna shut this thing down. I'll let the fire die down, and then call it a night. I can feel the fresh air, the exchange of fresh air coming. Because I cut in a fresh air intake on the far side of the hole, because this thing is using oxygen in the hole, so you don't want to do this without having a fresh air intake. And it's probably a good idea to have a carbon monoxide / smoke detector as well, just to be safe. But this here is, as I said, I'm gonna let it go out and make sure it's completely out before I go to bed. Bigger pillow. It's not gonna be long. You can see the other side. Can you see that? This is what I'm looking at. You can see that all the wood and the ladder goes up to nowhere. Hatch is closed. It's definitely a pretty cozy bed. Well, see you guys in the morning. Oh, where's the light? Well, good morning. It's bright and early. How'd you guys sleep? I slept pretty good. It's cold. Oh, and damp. It's eerily quiet though. I think the sun's probably just coming up. I'm pretty chilly. I can still hear all night. You can hear the little clinkers falling down beside the wall. They're just kind of falling behind the wood, but otherwise she pretty much held up as expected. Why? Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna pretty much get out here. I gotta collect my shoes and stuff. Anyways, I think this trench is a pretty successful trench, and it might be used in the future for, it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So I got it now. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and join me on the next one.